Hello and welcome to Beginner Basics Treble Crochet. We're going to learn how to make a treble crochet into a foundation chain and then how to work treble crochets into the top of those stitches in this video. If you need a refresher on how to do foundation chain or the chain stitches, please go check out my other videos on the channel, Marley Bird, and you can get great instructions right there. So let's get started. Right now, I've already chained 14 chains and I have my basic old crochet hook sitting in here. And in the instructions, it will read to do a treble crochet in the 5th chain from hook. So knowing that we are not going to count the first chain on our hook, that never, ever, ever counts as a stitch, we're going to count 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are the 4 we're going to skip. We're going to work into the 5th chain from hook. For a treble crochet, which some people call a triple, but it's supposed to be treble, we are going to yarn over our hook just like we would for a double or a half double, although we are going to yarn over our hook one more time. So you have your loop on your hook and 2 wraps. I like to hold my wraps on my hook with my middle finger of my right hand because it just holds them a little bit more stable. I'm going to take my hook, I'm going to come over here to my foundation chain. I'm going to stick my hook right into the chain. I'm choosing to just go into the back loop, but you can go through the back loop and the butt if you would like to. I'm going to take my hook, I'm going from the left to the right underneath the yarn and I'm wrapping it across. I'm going to call that a yarn over. So I've yarned over and I'm pulling that loop through the chain. So now I have a loop, a loop, a loop, and a loop. You see that? So to complete the treble, I yarn over my hook, I draw through 2, I yarn over my hook, I draw through 2, I yarn over my hook, I draw through 2. Can you see why some people might call that a triple? Because it's 3 times you're going to draw through 2 on your hook. So here we go again to begin. I yarn over my hook twice, I go to my next chain, I'm going into the chain stitch, yarn over my hook, pull up a loop. I'm having my hook is parallel to my chain stitch because it makes it very nice and neat. I will point out now, there are some people who like to bring that up real nice and tall to try and get the same height as this one right here, but if you can notice, the one we just created, with each draw through 2s, it starts to build on itself. So you don't need to bring this loop up really tall to match this one because it's going to do it just in the process of creating the treble crochet. So I'm going to yarn over my hook, I'm going to draw through 2, yarn over my hook, draw through 2, yarn over my hook, and draw through 2. I'm going to hold this over here. You're going to see the first 4 chains that we skipped give us the same height as this treble crochet right here. And then this is our second treble crochet and it is still the same height as all of that. So that's really good. We have a nice uniform stitch. Now for our example, we are not going to count this first turning chain or the first 4 chains as a stitch. So we want to take our marker and we want to put it through the top 2 legs of our very first treble crochet. And that's going to be our visual clue that that is the end of that row when we come back down to that stitch, okay? So we will not accidentally work into here. Now, if, for example, we did want to count this as a stitch, we would not be putting our marker here. I'm going to use a blue marker to show you. We would be putting it into the 4th chain of that turning chain. So our marker would actually go right there. Can you see the difference there? I'm going to take that out because we are not using that. We wanted to use the actual stitch. So with that in place, I just carry on. I yarn over 2, 1, 2, go into the next chain, yarn over, pull up a loop. If you find that your chains are a little bit too snug and you're having a hard time getting your hook into them to work the stitches, go ahead and rip out your chains and begin again, making sure that you only keep the chain stitches as tight or as round as the shaft of the hook. And this is the shaft of the hook. That is what determines the size of your stitch. If you are wiggling your yarn and wiggling your hook to tighten it up, that is not a good thing. That will make your chain too tight and give you a headache trying to get worked into it. Please be patient working into the foundation chain because it's actually, I think, the hardest part of all of crochet is working into the foundation chain. It's one of those things, it's a little bit tedious, it takes more time than the rest of the crochet project, and nobody really enjoys doing it. So be patient with it. You can do this, I promise. I'm just going along, I'm doing my treble crochets right into the back loop of my foundation chain. If you can notice, I'm doing my whole yarn over twice, go into this chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2. I'm getting a really beautiful height there. I like that. Makes the project go by real fast. I'm in my last chain here, yarn over, I'm going to pull up a loop, then I yarned over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2. Now, given that I started with 14 chains and I'm not counting this first chain 4, remember I'm not counting that as a stitch, I should be left with 10 treble crochets. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Perfect. If I were counting this as a treble crochet, again, my little blue stitch marker we talked about before would have been over here into the 4th chain from hook. It would have been into that one, and we would be counting that as a stitch. That is a constant mistake that both beginners and advanced crocheters always make. Now, to build up our height of the next row that we need to begin with a chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you've been following along with the Beginner Basics series, you've noticed that with the single crochet, it's a chain 1. With a half double, it's a chain 2. With a double, it's a chain 3. With a treble now, it's a chain 4. So because we are not counting this as a stitch, we are going to go ahead and work into our very first stitch here of the next row. So we've skipped those 4 chains and we're going to go in to this stitch right here. I've yarned over twice. I'm going to go right into that hole. There are 2 legs of the V-stitch right there. Yarn over my hook, pull up a loop. Now, just like before, I carry on. Yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2, yarn over, draw through 2. I'm going to take a moment, I'm going to grab my marker, and I'm going to mark the top of that stitch right there, just like before. It's so that when I come back to this stitch, I know that that's the last one of that row, so I need to make sure I work into it. I've yarned over twice. I'm going to go back down to the end of the row, and I'll just talk to you as I go along. One of the great things about treble crochets, again, is the height of the stitch. So you get to get some good surface area, and it goes by rather quickly. It's really wonderful for baby blankets, for men's garments, for edgings and trims. If you notice there, I kind of flubbed up, so I just ripped it out, yarned over my hook twice, and I'm starting over again. Don't be afraid to rip out when you need to rip out, and just make it nice and pretty. Especially baby blankets. I could tell you right now that I had a baby blanket made full of just treble crochets, and my son used to take his fingers and just like to stick it in there and play around. It was a texture thing. So I know that they really enjoy doing that and sticking their little toes, their little toesies right through the stitches. I just thought that was the cutest thing. I have a couple pictures actually of his little toes sticking through the stitches of his hand crocheted blanket. Nothing better than a hand crocheted blanket, and nothing better when that goes by really fast, right? As a crocheter, you just want to get that done. I'm here to the end of my row, finishing my treble crochets. You can already see I have some good height to it. And I'm going to work now into this very last stitch that I have marked. So convenient. I can sit here and talk to you and I don't have to worry about counting or anything like that. I know that that is my last stitch. I'm going to go ahead, and if I were to start my next row, I'm going to chain 4 again to get the same height as the next stitch. Turn my work. I yarn over twice, and I go into that stitch right there at the very beginning, you guys. It's the top of the last stitch I created. Now I'm going to set this down because at this point I'm going to take this marker out of the stitch from the row below, and I'm going to move it up. As you work your entire project, you're going to have a marker on either side of your project the whole way, and you'll just move them up the whole way along. What that's going to do is give you a nice clean edge because you're always going to be using the exact number of stitches. I'm going to set this aside and pull in one that I've already been working up a little bit. Right here, if you've been watching the other step out videos, so to speak, the beginner basics, you'll recognize this swatch. Here at the beginning, we have our beginning chain, and then I use the blue to make half double crochets. I use the lighter blue to make double crochets, and now I've used the pink to make treble crochets. I want to show you the height difference in all of them. So there's the blue, there's 4 rows of blue right there, and if I match that up, that was 4 rows of the light blue, so obviously you get a whole entire extra row when you do 4 rows of double crochet. And then conversely to that, 4 rows of double crochet as compared to 4 rows of treble, look, you get a whole nother treble row and a partial treble row, so you get that much more height, right? That's pretty darn cool. On here you can see also I have my last and my first stitch markers on there, so I know where the beginning and end are. I've used a stitch marker to fasten, so to speak, my loose loop right there, so that way if I needed to tuck this aside in a project bag, or I need to run away and take the kids to practice, it doesn't go and get undone on me. I'm good to go. I would just take this off, pop my little hook in there, and continue on down the row. Now, something you can see here is because we did not use our turning chains as actual stitches, they kind of pucker out right here. That's something that we're going to talk about in the next beginner basics. We're going to discuss when to actually work into the top of a stitch versus when to work into the turning chain and exactly how to do that. So make sure you subscribe and join me here and find out when all the new videos are going to be produced and displayed and put out there in the public for you guys to enjoy. If you want a refresher on any of the information I've talked about today, please go back and look at all of the beginner basics from the chain stitch to the treble crochet and beyond. Thanks.